Hey, everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Very excited today. We're talking about a sequel so long in the making for a lot of reasons. And one, this has been 30 some odd years. We're talking about Top Gun Maverick today. So 30 some odd years since the original, but also 1 or 2 years since this was supposed to come out. This is another movie that was long delayed by the pandemic, and we're finally getting it now.
One of Andrew's most anticipated of
It
2020.
it was one of his most anticipated. Yes. That is crazy. Yes.
You know what? I feel like I remember that, and I remember being meh on it.
Yeah.
I need to go back and listen to that because I genuinely feel like I was meh, and I feel like I
Done?
hadn't seen Top Gun in a very long time when I had that reaction.
Yeah.
And now looking back on it, I'm wrong. So if that is indeed the reaction I had, just 2020 Garrett's wrong.
I try to pull up that episode every time we're about to review a movie that was on our most anticipated, which I remember quite a lot of them. I know that I listed Bob's Burgers as one of my most anticipated of 2020, and it's finally come out. Well, it's out now. So yeah, there's been a lot of movies that we were really looking forward to a few years ago that are finally making their way here. I can't tell you, and because they kept almost releasing this movie, I can't tell you how many times we watched that plane fly over that guy's head and bust the set and stuff. I must have seen that. We must have seen the trailers for Top Gun 2 straight years. Isn't
You know what?
crazy?
But they did a better job than the Kingsman did. Where they kept giving me interesting things, whereas I kept seeing the Kingsman trailer over and over. But like this, you got a little bit of behind the scenes from time
You were
to
like,
time.
"Oh, is this a new Kingsman?" And then it's like, "No, this is the same Kingsman."
Anyway, we haven't even talked about the movie yet.
No, I was glad that y'all were chit-chatting because I was trying to find out when it was originally set to release. So the first teaser trailer for this movie dropped in July 2019, and it was also set for a June, July 2020, and then just got delayed again and again. So yeah, this is really one of the first big movies that was delayed. Crazy. Top Gun Maverick sees the return of Tom Cruise as Pete Maverick Mitchell. From the first one, we also get a new cast of characters led by Miles Teller, who plays the son of Goose. I don't think any of this is spoiler territory if people would care about
Right.
Jennifer Connelly. John Hamm joins the cast. Glenn Powell joins the cast as another young Top Gun recruit. And then, of course, you got to have Val Kilmer. Val returns in some form. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little later, his appearance in the movie. But let's just get right out the gate with some initial reactions. What did you guys think of Top Gun Maverick?
The recreation almost of that beginning scene give you just to set you up, man. It set you up for the Top Gun experience. It gave you the ease of, okay, this is going to be Top Gun. Like we're safe here, but you get to experience that first thing in the new modern technology of the theater. You get to be in the planes like you weren't before, and you just get it there immediately. And it really sets you up for the build that they go through. The effects, this movie is action. That the story is much improved. I think I said last episode about this that it was going to blow the previous one out of the water, and that was with high praise of the previous one.
Yeah.
And I think that it did that in a way that just brought it into the modern. You still get the Top Gun essence. It's cheesy, it's planes, but like you're in there and feel it. And there were so many times where I was like leaning into the seat like it was a roller coaster. It was so much fun. I really do encourage you to see it on the biggest, loudest theater possible. It's just fantastic.
What did you think, Josh?
Yeah. I don't disagree with any of that. I loved it. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. I don't think my anticipation was quite at Andrew's levels originally, but I've been excited about it ever since that first trailer dropped, and it exceeded my expectations. I feel like it's fair to say that even if you don't like Top Gun, the original, I don't know how you can walk away and not say this one's better. You can not like both of them, but like this one is an improvement in so many ways. And that's also coming from someone who liked the first one a lot. They ratchet up everything. Even the story is stronger. There's much more character development. So much has changed for Maverick. One thing I liked a lot about it is not just for Mav as a character, but for Tom Cruise as an actor. A lot of the character development in this story revolved around him aging. There's a lot of "You're old now, Mav," and that's Tom Cruise faces the same thing as an action star, and this movie was like Mav's and Tom Cruise's way of going, "No, I'm not. I am not too old to do this crazy stuff," which is, just super fun. Mav is almost like a superhero in this weird Top Gun universe that is, I don't know, it's like the plane version of Fast and Furious to me.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun.
It turns into
You mean
all
flying
all
planes. Flying planes, yes, not
Yeah.
plane as in vanilla.
No, not that kind of plane. So I enjoyed all that. Miles Teller was really good, I thought, as, Goose's son. What's his call sign? Rooster. Yeah, and I'm like, I've never been like super sold on Miles Teller. He's done some things I like, some things I don't. So I was really impressed with him in this role. I was afraid it could go into a bad cheesy territory with even down to Rooster replicating Goose's mustache, which is just not a look in 2022. It's just not. But it was
It might be
good.
now. Who knows?
It might, yeah, maybe he'll make it one. So just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun. A lot of good new characters. A lot of fun. We see shirtless guys playing sports on the beach again.
Yeah, ladies, you'll get a lot of eye candy in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you, again, if you're not into the whole action movie, there is something for everybody to
This-
find in this movie. I think.
Yeah. To me,
Guys.
fully approve. So yeah, David, we'll now go to you.
I think that this, guys, we had to wait, but it's here.
Mhm.
The blockbuster that the over 55 crowd has been waiting for is
Oh my
here, and they love it. I can already tell you they love it because this is everything. So I'll say this too. Just I was gonna hold on to this, but this has to be what it's like for a non-Star Wars fan to watch The Force Awakens, or for somebody who's never saw the first Jurassic Park to watch Jurassic World. It's very strange for me, or at least it was for me, to watch a movie that capitalizes so well on its nostalgia that I don't have. I have no nostalgia for Top Gun, the first one. I think it's a good movie. I had fun watching it, but I didn't grow up like watching Top Gun over and over and over and over again. I wasn't 15 when the movie came out, and it was like, yes, that's everything I want to be. That's so cool. So there was no nostalgia. Same way, I feel the same way about Ghostbusters. I have no nostalgia for it. So when the movie like panned like nice shots, the can't drive 55 on the back of the motorcycle, all that stuff, that's just so 80s, and it's so calling back to a time that really wasn't my time. It is weird to be sitting there, but I could hear the crowd warm to these moments, right? To these kind of like callbacks and these elements. And I could hear the crowd like loving it, right? Yeah. And I think that everybody who is not the demo of the Fast and the Furious and the MCU and Harry Potter, that the people who are not in that demo, the older their parents and their uncles and aunts and stuff, gonna love this, and and they should, because it's actually really good. I'm not saying that to down it. It's a really good movie, and it's funny because it did things that I assumed the first Top Gun did before seeing it. We'll get into the spoilers later, but Pete, Maverick, Mitchell, and Rooster do something that is very 80s by the end of the movie, like in the climax of the movie. And it was the kind of thing of, hey, that's like super unrealistic that would happen. And it feels like an 80s thing. And by today's standards, it's like, oh, we're in active war now. I don't know if they realize this. We're at war with whoever this country is now. It's okay. Nah.
Right. This was not a
Drop out.
training exercise.
No, this is so. Whereas the first movie is mostly just training and like simulated fighting and one real dogfight at the end. Again, the movie is ambiguous as to who exactly the bad guys are, but I think we know.
And you know what? On that real quick, I liked that this time. I thought they handled it to where at least I understood the mission this time. It was so vague in the last one. And I liked that they were able to sell us an enemy without naming a specific group or country. Just because, I don't know, you name it and suddenly it's a political thing, I feel like, these days. Let's not call it insert country you're thinking, because that's what everyone's brain is going to do. Everyone's going to assume it's someone.
Right.
But it's
Well,
up to you.
And I think that was the problem then too, because it was still the 80s. It was still the end-ish of the Cold
It's
War.
very Cold War
Let's not make
vibe,
let's not make Russia the bad guy in a movie where we very clearly kill them.
Yeah.
Or kill one of their people. So yeah, but yeah, I really dug it. The story is a little bit. I'll tell you this. Watching the two movies back to back, and I already knew this, but watching the two movies back to back, Top Gun and then Top Gun Maverick, you can really see how much Tom Cruise has grown as an actor, as a performer, and not just in his stunt performances, because we all know that. And I've seen Tom Cruise be a good actor in other things before this, obviously. But when you put in Top Gun 1, and we talked about it last week, how he's creepy and a little bit off-putting at times, he's so much more nuanced in a lot of his choices in this movie. He comes across much more natural, and frankly, a lot more relatable in Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, and the movie starts off, it's a pretty crazy terror story where he's a test pilot, and he literally breaks Mach 10 and destroy his ship blows up basically in outer space, and he parachutes down in what I have to assume is Tennessee.
Yeah, and what an incredible sequence that whole thing was. Like,
Oh,
that's
that's
the beginning of the movie.
The audience I was with loved that to death. They
When
loved
when that kid says, "Earth," it is,
So funny.
oh my god.
that a joke has landed when a like 47, 49-year-old mother repeats the joke loudly in the back of the room. That's how you know your joke has landed, because he goes, Earth, and some mom back goes, Earth. Like, yeah. It was so
You're right, though. You're right.
and I didn't expect
Older folks love
such
to repeat the joke out loud.
that is such a modern action sequence. Like, I could see that in a lot of different movies, and it was something that they didn't really do in the first Top Gun. So that was an interesting way to reintroduce us to Pete Maverick.
It was also really interesting to see, again, going into the story, you see him in the position now of teacher, whereas they reference him in this movie as having been a teacher at Top Gun in the past, and that it wasn't his thing and it wasn't his bag. And you see him he's bucking the system of the authority figure, but he is also the authority figure and trying to teach these kids the right way. And so it is interesting to see him in that back and forth of like trying to be a maverick and teach them to be a maverick while being safe about being a maverick. So it was really a fun dynamic between, especially him and Rooster. And you throw in Hangman in there with the same premise of him being Maverick. And now you have Maverick. It was a very fun dynamic to see that play going back and forth from the first one to the development that you see now.
Definitely. And obviously, there's also this looming I don't want to say subplot. There's this kind of like, there's this element of, like you said, Josh, people telling Maverick he's too old. But
Old
it's not,
timer, old man, thanks for picking up the bill, all that. Yeah.
it's not even that. The big bad government, the military is telling him, you're going to be replaced.
Yes, you're obsolete.
You're obsolete. Machines can do this, and they take orders and all that. And like, that is boomer fear number one right there.
And on that note,
Replaced by machines.
that is the parallels I see to Tom Cruise are insane, because that is also, I swear to you, Tom Cruise is an actor saying, you will not replace me with CGI. I can do things that a computer can't. I believe it with my whole heart.
And you know what? Because you look at this and you could have done anything with CGI. You look at some of the other movies that have in the past used CGI when they're in war and planes are a big aspect of it, and they look like trash when you grow. But this movie's not going to look like trash. It's going to look fun. You know how I know that? Because the original Top Gun still looks fun. It's good. It does not look bad or cheesy, and the graphics have aged well, and the effects have aged well, even with the minimal technology that they had at the time. So you're right. You can have those movies with the CGI and you can get that experience, but will it last? That is TBD on a lot of graphics.
Yeah. Yeah, my personal preference is I'm always in favor of practical effects over CGI when it can be done. In this movie, there's so much practical effects. The one thing I'm certain had to be CGI is the Mach 10 thing, just because, like, how could you do that? But the rest of the plane stuff, I feel like that's a lot of practical stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It's always the blend that you don't see. It's when you combine the practical with the visual effect where it comes together perfectly and you can't tell the difference. And it makes sense why a lot of movies go to CG when they can, and when they go to digital performers, if you will, for roles for these things, because I have to imagine it was a lot of money to even have these planes for use in filming. Like, it's not cheap. I remember, what was it, Chris Nolan, he worked out that it was about as expensive to crash a real plane into a building as it would be to CGI a plane crash a plane into a building. And so it really comes down to if the director and the people who have the money are willing to like make that call. And when you have somebody who is as dedicated as Tom Cruise, I think that they're like, we can bank on Tom Cruise. We'll make this money back. You know what I mean? A lot of movies don't know. They don't know. So I understand the dilemma there because it costs a lot of money. I mean, it probably costs a ton of money for some of this stuff, but it works out really well. It works out really well here. And the action sequences were better than the first movie. And everything about Top Gun Maverick, I think, is a plus on the original. Like it is like they took what worked about the original and plussed it. And so I would say that I even down to some of the other pilots are way better. Even like the extraneous pilots are way more interesting in this than all the extraneous pilots in the other movie.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jay Ellis as Lieutenant Ruben Payback Fitch. I believe he's from Tulsa.
He is a Tulsan. Yes. Payback is from Tulsa. Yeah. He did a video introduction actually for moviegoers at Circle Cinema. If you go see Top Gun Maverick at Circle, you can watch a special video introduction from Jay Ellis, which is cool.
And if you go in Claremore, you just get Tom Cruise.
Hey,
There is a Tom Cruise opening that was a nice little surprise. And again, this movie, again, made for theaters. So I know that it will probably be on the chance to stream, but like that will be down the line. Go see this in a theater because it was made for that.
and I don't have the time to confirm this right now. And but I'm gonna tell it anyway because maybe it's a myth of Tom Cruise. But I'd heard on a podcast recently that Tom Cruise personally made sure that Top Gun Maverick would be end up being the only blockbuster film to have a longer than 45-day window in theaters. Because that's the new norm now, is 45 days in theaters to streaming. That is a pandemic thing. And he, I guess, was like, no, I'm not having that because he is a extremely strong proponent for movie theaters and has been for years before the pandemic. So that's crazy if he did pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we'll end up on Paramount Plus with it being
Yeah.
a Paramount film, but yeah, you got to go to the movie theater.
It might go 90 days, might go even longer. It just depends on how good the legs are, I would guess. I would imagine that if it starts but when its first weekend where it brings in probably less than $1 million, then it'll show up on Paramount Plus shortly thereafter. But
I feel like this could get a lot of repeat views.
It's going to get, I promise you, it's going to get one from me.
it's gonna get a lot.
Yeah.
It's gonna get one crazy super week because they released this on a Tuesday night. They released an entire week before Memorial Day to get every ounce of Memorial Day traffic they could. So it is going to do a fuller first week. Otherwise, I wanted to compliment, I think Glenn Powell as Hangman was actually one of my favorite parts of the movie, even though he was a bad guy.
I did want to
He wasn't
talk about
deep.
him, yeah.
I was like, this is a star-making performance in a little bit of a way. Now, he doesn't steal the show by any means, but he better get some work after this because that dude it's a role where you're supposed to be a dick.
Yeah.
But the guy just nails it. Nails it. He is so
very-
dislikable.
Very dislikable, but also very charismatic at the same time.
So
Like he is, I think if I remember right, he was Neil Armstrong in, oh my God, I can't remember the name of the movie.
Oh,
And a half.
Hidden Figures, I think is what.
Hidden Figures, yes.
And he played
John
John Glenn.
John Glenn. And he is also very charming in that movie. And he had just had a very small part in that movie. But of the things that I remember about that movie, in addition to just that being a good movie, he really stood out as someone who was like, oh, wow, he's really good. And so to see him in this being such an opposite character, like the guy does have range. And I do think that he is a standout character in this.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of good performances in this. And I just wanted to bring him up because he's playing that Iceman role. But I think, he was so punchable, so dislikable, and such a great job. And sometimes I feel we don't credit that kind of work enough.
No, and he's so good because by the end, all right, you're a good guy.
It's like, how did they do it again? Because that was how the first one ends, where you go, oh, Iceman's not that bad.
And they also set him up with his name as to why he has the name. And so for him to be the one to be rebellious and go out and help after being told no was a little bit of a redeeming thing. But I also saw him more as a Maverick character because he was just so arrogant, full of himself. And he was he wasn't necessarily breaking the rules, but I saw Rooster as more as that Iceman, like conservative, reserved type of person. And that again was that dynamic with him and Maverick of trying to both encourage him to not think, but also be safe of this adoptive kind of son figure that he has too. You muted, Dave.
Oh, I know. I was having
Oh, okay. I
a
thought you
conversation
were.
with another person in the room. Yeah.
Let's talk about Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer, obviously, huge role in the first film as, oh my gosh, their call signs leave me every time.
Iceman.
Iceman. Yes, you guys literally just talked about it. Iceman. And now Iceman's character has worked his way up to, I believe he was an admiral or general, wasn't he? I mean, he's playing a background role of puppet master in a sense to get Mav back into Top Gun. But anyway, Val Kilmer as an actor has had a lot of health issues over recent years, and he doesn't really act anymore. And so that is reflected in his character. We learn that Iceman has a condition. I'm trying to be a little sensitive to spoilers. So he doesn't play a massive role in this one. How do you guys think that worked out? Did it work for you, the Iceman stuff?
I think it did work for him. I think it did because I think that the way they worked around it, because they obviously have a little bit of their cake and eat it too, because they tried to lighten his load a little bit, not give him too much dialogue, right? And the way they worked around it without giving into any spoilers allowed you to. There's sometimes that when you visualize what someone says as opposed to see it or hear it, it can change how you interpret it a little bit. So I really think that they did a good job with that. And then when he did vocally speak, it made what he said even more hit home even better. You know what I mean? Because it's like every word was precious for him. What do you think, Garrett?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was a little surprised that he was in it. I didn't expect him to be actually in it. When they had him as a character that you could interact with, I expected, okay, that's how they're going to get around that situation. But, to see him there was really nice. I think that it landed, again, a little awkward with how they set certain things up, but they gave you but like him as an actor still able to perform on camera is still, you're able to see the emotion of the words.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I thought it worked for me as well, and there were nice surprises along the way to it, and I thought that what they did with the Iceman character overall in this story is also uh really good. I felt like of the characters who return, I feel like everyone got a pretty good growth moments.
Where do we go with Top Gun? Does Top Gun become the Fast and the Furious for airplanes? Is that what we do now? Is this the thing that it goes into? Because I don't think they're done. They have really good opportunities to continue this series now also without the necessary Maverick. You have characters in place to do that. That we live in a world of franchises. This is one that people have been craving, and the way Tom Cruise would continue to be involved until he literally probably can't be, will continue to push this further and further too. So, like, where do we go with Top Gun after having seen this?
Josh, you go ahead.
I have a lot of I feel like there's a lot of roadblocks to continuing it in a huge way, and every roadblock is Tom Cruise. I don't see any Top Gun property without Tom Cruise as the star. I don't think he lets that happen. How much control he has, I don't know exactly, but it feels like he has a lot. So I don't think his ego allows that. So if they keep making something related to Top Gun, which I do think they will, I think he's involved in a huge way. I think he sees himself as the franchise, much like Mission Impossible. So if Tom Cruise thinks he can carry two major franchises at once, possibly. If he doesn't, I don't see it going huge. I see that maybe a Top Gun 3 in several years or something like that. That's my prediction.
Personally, I would be shocked, I think. I would be shocked if there's. Sorry, hang on. That's Mickey Mouse.
Mickey has opinions too.
Yeah. Mickey loves this movie.
Mickey Mouse. I don't know if you could hear that or not, my son's toy. He is very noisy. No, get him out of here.
That's
Get him outta here.
okay.
Be gone, Mickey. Luckily,
Let's do a little dance now.
luckily, I don't think that's copywritten.
Oh, I'm sure
Uh,
it's fine.
Anyway, I would be shocked if they made another one, to be honest, because the series is Tom Cruise. Like The audience for this, I think, generally speaking, this is a movie. It looks like Tom Cruise. It acts like Tom Cruise. The audience that likes this movie and wanted this movie, I don't think likes spiritual sequels. And I could be wrong about that, but if they made a Top Gun with new people that didn't have Tom Cruise, they would complain. It's just a bunch of new people, and there's no Tom Cruise. It's nothing like the originals.
I
And
don't
that kind of thing.
necessarily I don't necessarily agree because I think that if you give me enough good action like that, then it doesn't matter. Look at the Fast and the Furious movies. I think that you can
But you're from a
get
different generation, Garrett.
I know I am, but if that's what you target with sequels anyway. You're not necessarily targeting the audience of the original. You're targeting the people who are going now. And so you want to loop in the current and audience as well. And I think they do that with the people that they have set up. I think that you can keep Top Gun and Maverick and Tom Cruise in there, but I also think that you can have success with new people if you establish them, just like anything else, and continue to push the action of this. I think that people would go.
I don't think so.
I land in between there where I think people might go, but I think it's possible, but I don't think Tom Cruise lets it happen. That's my thing. I think if he hears that idea, he goes, no, I have to be the star. I'm Tom Cruise.
Best case scenario,
Yeah, Fast and Furious, but all the ones without Vin Diesel, no one cares about.
for me, the comparable thing is, and this maybe not be the best example, but a comparable thing is Ghostbusters from 2016, where it wasn't the original cast, wasn't anybody involved with the original movie really, and people who were the fans of the original didn't want to come, and that poisoned the well a bit. So even though you might have grown new fans with that movie, you have this weird thing hanging over it of, oh, they changed it just to be modern and new, and they don't care about the original people who made that movie, the fans who made that movie what it is. That's what ends up happening. Best case scenario, Paramount Plus puts out a lot of money, and they may give you a Top Gun series on Paramount Plus about pilots training at Top Gun.
That's probably be a better route.
Now
That'd be
that's
a better route.
interesting.
Because
I do think
Plus,
Tom Cruise would go, oh, well, I'm not going to do TV.
yeah, I'm
You
not
could take it
But then
Yeah.
he'd rake in that money.
He'd get royalties. He might do like a special intro thing that he does for it or something like that. He might, do like some kind of, they might use his likeness for it or something. I feel like that's the best case scenario because it wouldn't require Tom, and the expectations for that would be lower. But I feel like the expectations would be too high. And now I could be wrong. It's all up to Tom Cruise, but I would be shocked because this feels like a nice swan song for Maverick.
Mhm.
And to do the movie without him, I don't know. Now, I don't know. Anyway,
we
We'll see.
do need to start heading toward wrapping up. So before we go to box office, which I believe you should have open weekend estimates at least, I will say, because there's been a lot of Tom Cruise is also one of the biggest weirdos ever born. So make that known that he's really weird and not amazing.
I did have
He's got problems, okay?
the older couple next to me I could hear them audibly talking at times. And when he did his little intro at the beginning, the wife went over and went, he looks very different now. And the other thing goes, yeah, he looks old. She goes, no, not old. And he goes, yeah, old. Because the intro was clearly filmed 2 years after the movie. So he's aged even a little bit from when the movie came out. Yeah. So Top Gun
Absolutely.
opened this weekend of recording, May 27th. Actually, it opened on, hang on. It opened on May 24th of this week. So there's a little bit of numbers going into that. It had an opening day total in the 50 millions. I don't have that number pulled up, but it's a 3-day opening weekend is $124 million opening weekend. That's the estimate. That is the highest of Tom Cruise's career, higher than anything else that he's ever done. By a lot, really. Like I think his previous highest opening weekend was like $61 million. Also in the top 5 for the weekend, Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness in its 4th week brought in 16.4. The Bob's Burgers movie brought in 12.6 in the number 3
Go
spot.
see Bob's Burgers, people.
I want to see that one too. I think we're reviewing that soon too. Downton Abbey: A New Era brought in 5.9 million in its 2nd week, and The Bad Guys brought in 4.6 in its 6th week. Good run for that animated film.
Nice.
Stop making noises over it. If you extend, so this is a projection. So this may or may not come exactly true. A projection for Top Gun Maverick's 4-day Memorial Day weekend is 151 million, which would be quite large. And if that number rings true, then it will immediately, after its opening weekend, be the 5th highest grossing movie of 2022, just behind Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is now on Paramount Plus. Spider-Man No Way. Oh, hang on. That's not right. Excuse me. Uncharted, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, The Batman, and then Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So, all in all, a very successful looking week so far for Top Gun Maverick. Big success. I think that a lot of people are going to enjoy this. It's perfect for the Memorial Day weekend. And yeah.
Did you mention that it's the biggest opening of Tom's career?
I did. It by a lot.
By a
Because
lot.
I believe his second highest now, his previous highest was like 61 million for one of the Mission Impossibles. So this is gonna blow it out of the water. Even adjusted for inflation, I think it would still be the largest. So big week for Tom Cruise and a good week for
Sometimes anticipation will make you money,
Yeah.
people. You don't necessarily need to release 45 franchise movies. Maybe you just release a few good ones and you still make money.
It'll be interesting to see where it finishes, what kind of legs it has, because I could easily see it moving into the 3rd spot for the year right now. I could see it passing. It'll pass Uncharted by the end of this weekend, probably. It'll pass Sonic the Hedgehog 2 fairly soon, even though that made $2 million this weekend again. So I could see it getting up there in contention with the Batman for best domestic grosses of the year. And that's about all I got for that. I can say my theater was a Saturday matinee at 3 p.m. in Claremore, Oklahoma. Not an empty seat in the room. So
And let's move on to Letterboxd game. I picked out a few Letterboxd reviews to read out for fun before this. I had a strong feeling that these would be that this would be a good movie for Letterboxd reviews, and I think I was correct. These are all some of the highest voted reviews of the movie. We got: during the screening of Top Gun Maverick, a man in his 50s yelled out in what sounded like a fit of pure ecstasy during one of the aerial stunts. He sounded like he was being raptured. I cannot wait for the dads of the world to experience this movie.
yeah, this is new King Dad move. This is the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Not
Move over, Ford B. Ferrari.
not the best movie ever made by mortals, only because Tom Cruise is not one. This movie being released one day before Memorial Day weekend and 1 week before Father's Day is the biggest cinematic events for dads in America since 1986 when Top Gun first came out. And then finally, this one is in limerick form. Tom just loves to go cruising and doesn't really like losing. If forced to teach or play at the beach, it's obvious which one he's choosing. Okay,
Good.
so now,
Pretty good. I'm kind of
what do we
very
think?
envious.
What do we think the Letterboxd community has rated Top Gun Maverick on its opening weekend?
I'm going to say a 3.9.
We got a 3.9.
Man, I was going to say 4.
Oh, we got a 4.
High, but it's early. Well, it's high, but it's early.
You're right. I'm going to say 3.7 just to go at the low end. Let me open it up here. Top Gun Maverick is okay already with 51,000 reviews in or ratings in. Top Gun Maverick is currently at a 4.2,
Wow, there you go, Garrett.
which almost guarantees that it'll stay above a 4.
Yeah, it would take
It'd take quite a lot.
fractions to pull it down. Now it could drop to a 4.1 or
Yeah.
4.0.
Um,
What was
Hard-
the original
Hey.
Top Gun at? Do you remember?
That's why you look up the original Top Gun's letterbox score. That's back-to-back wins for Garrett.
Is it now?
Yeah, you won last week for Top Gun.
Gun is my jam, apparently. What's
3.3 for the original. Okay, now, very quickly, what's our ratings? I will waste no time. Freaking 5 stars. I have no notes.
I'm gonna say 4. I'm gonna say 4 stars for me.
I'm going to say 4.5.
There you go. That's solid reviews right there.
That's a
4.2.
good one. It is,
Like 4.2.
it's pretty close to that. Okay, that's Top Gun Maverick. Find us online at SoManySequels.com and follow us everywhere to make sure you stay up to date on our latest episodes. We'll see you next time.